Hello, today we'll cover Genesis chapter 19. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth, and said, "My lords, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the town square." But he pressed them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast of baked, unleavened bread, and they ate. Lot's actions are very similar to Abraham's in chapter 18. Abraham was sitting in the doorway of his tent. Lot was sitting in the gate of the city. Both Abraham in chapter 18 and Lot in chapter 19 bowed to the visitors. Also, both Abraham and Lot prepare a meal for the visitors and show hospitality. The angels had appearance of men, but were immediately recognizable to both Abraham and Lot as heavenly. Lot persuades the angels to come with him to his house. It struck me as interesting that the angels ate, and leads me to think further on the visual, physical nature of angels when they appear to humans. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people, to the last man, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them." Lot went out to the men at the entrance, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have two daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." Then they pressed hard against the man Lot, and drew near to break the door down. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out, groping for the door. We read that every male in Sodom, young and old, wanted to gang rape the angels. This is where we get the word sodomy. Verse 8 describes Lot willing to give up his two daughters' virginity to a horde of men in order to protect the angels. Having two daughters, I cannot even begin to reason why Lot would offer up his two daughters to the gang of men. The gang of men turn on Lot and seek to do worse to him than what they wanted to do to the angels. The angels reach out and pull Lot back into the house and then strike the gang of men with blindness. Then the men, that is the angels, said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and said to his sons-in-law, who were about to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. The angels inform Lot that they are about to destroy the city because of the people's sinfulness. They allow Lot to gather his family and flee to safety. However, some members of Lot's family do not heed the warning. As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his two daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him. And they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords. Behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. but I cannot escape to the hills, lest a disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved. He said to him, Behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zor. Lot lingers around, obviously not understanding the gravity of the situation. The angels have to physically grab Lot, his wife, and his two daughters and remove them from the house and take them outside the city. One of the angels tells the four humans, Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away. Lot pleads with the angels to allow him to stay at a small town called Zor. Zor means little. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. If we get down to the lowest common denominator, we see that God has abundant blessings for those who trust and obey him, and divine, righteous judgment and punishment for those who disobey. Lot's wife is not named in the Bible. She disobeys the angel's commands, and looking back, turns into a pillar of salt. In 2 Peter we read, If by turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes, he condemns them to extinction, making them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly, and if he rescued righteous Lot, greatly distressed by the sensual conduct of the wicked. For as that righteous man lived among them day after day, he was tormenting his righteous soul over their lawless deeds that he saw and heard. Then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from trials, and to keep the unrighteous under punishment until the day of judgment, and especially those who indulge in the lust of defiling passion and despise authority. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the valley. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the land went up like smoke of a furnace. So it was that when God destroyed the cities of the valley, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had lived. The story jumps back to Abraham and the spot where he stood before the Lord and interceded for Sodom. God remembered Abraham and spared Lot and his two daughters. Now Lot went up out of Zor and lived in the hills with his two daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zor. So he lived in a cave with his two daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Lot leaves the city Zor, that he asked the angels for permission to go to, and goes up to the hills. This is where the angels told him to go originally, and lives in a cave with his daughters. Lot's oldest daughter gets her father drunk and has intercourse with him, becoming pregnant. She names her son Moab. Moab sounds like the Hebrew word for from father. The next day the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. Their firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites. The younger also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. The oldest daughter convinces the younger daughter to have incest with their father as well. The following night they get Lot drunk on wine, and the youngest daughter has intercourse with her father and becomes pregnant as well. She calls her son Ben-Ami. Ben-Ami means son of my people. It says Lot did not know when his daughters lay down or when they arose. Does not excuse his actions. Although at this point in the Bible we have not seen prescribed laws from God yet regarding drunkenness, incest, homosexuality, polygamy, and intercourse outside of marriage, it is obvious to us today, as well as it was to humanity at that time, that such actions are contrary to God's divine plan and will.